Welcome to the Elevated Frequency Podcast, where we explore the real, raw, and often unseen layers of what it means to live in alignment with our bodies, our choices, and ultimately our personal truth. I'm Shannon Morse, and today's episode is a powerful look at autonomy in motion, literally. I'm joined by Chandley McKinnon, one of our incredible strength and nutrition coaches here at the Green Door Life. He recently completed a triathlon without telling a soul. In true manifestor style, this wasn't about proving anything. It was about reclaiming his own rhythm, honoring the season of life he's in, and testing the boundaries of what's possible when you trust your training, fuel with intention, and move for you. This conversation is for anyone who's ever felt like they need a goal to be worthy of effort, or who's in a maintenance phase and wondering what expansion can still look like. We'll dive into fatherhood, movement variety, macro tracking, and the freedom that comes when you stop chasing and start owning where you are. Let's get into it. So, welcome, Chandley, back to the show.
Thank you, Shannon. It's great to be back.
All right, so let's start with the surprise. You did a triathlon. What made you decide to do a triathlon, and why did you keep it a secret?
Great question. There's a lot in here, and I will do my best to be concise and keep it flowing. First and foremost, I'll say a good amount of divine inspiration in coming back to myself. This is actually the second triathlon that I did. The first one I did was this Marin triathlon 16 years ago, and I was 20 years old, and I got humbled, wonderfully humbled, so supremely humbled, which is the polite way of saying I got my butt kicked. And that was a really good thing for 20-year-old me to have at that season of life. And kind of catching wind of this and thinking like, maybe I'd want to take another crack at that. It's realizing I might be able to do this, question mark. There were some realizations and revelations along the way that lended to kind of coming back to myself, Shannon, and quite literally going back home. So in having these things that bring you back home, where, my family are my mom, my dad, my stepmom, and of course, friends and loved ones, it was a remembrance for me to know that I can go do those things in times of joy. So in recent years, it's kind of been my response to go home when someone's sick or someone needs help. And I am more than happy to do that. That fits very well for my family dynamic, with my siblings and with Lisa and the boys. It's like I get to do that. It was the reminder that I get to do the fun things too, the lighthearted things. It's a little funny to think of, triathlons and endurance sports as fun. The first triathlon I did was an Olympic distance. Why in God's name did I sign up for an Olympic distance triathlon? I have no idea. I still kind of doubt that I actually did that. And in knowing 20-year-old me, it was a goal that I had, and then I spoke about it. And I'm sure I told all the kids that I coached and all my peers, and I'm going to go do this, right? So there's a sense of this cavalier nature that I have to speak it. And then, knowing me, I'm sure I procrastinated and didn't sign up for the sprint distance. So all that was available was an Olympic distance.
Wow.
So I thought, I can do that. And I did. And I got worked. It was beautiful.
Wow. So for those of you who aren't aware what an Olympic triathlon entails, it is a 40K bike ride, it's a 10K run, and it's a 1.5K swim. So, in other words, it's 1 mile of swimming for those of us in the US that work with miles. It's essentially a 6 mile run and a 25 mile bike ride. That's a lot.
Yep. Yeah. And it was a beautiful learning experience. I did not train for that. My training protocol was I surf. I think I took some swim classes at College of Marin, and I was an avid bike rider. Ran after coaching football practice. True 20-year-old fashion of like, I can do that. The story from that one is the Friday before the triathlon. So triathlon was on Sunday. Friday night, I started to feel a little sick. Nasal drip, scratchy throat, and I thought, Saturday, I'm coaching football and on the football field all day. And 20-year-old me, full of fire, just exerting all that energy. Saturday night, I realized, I don't feel good. I'm gonna get sick. But I had already said I was gonna do something, so I showed up to this triathlon on a bike that I had never ridden before. That was my brother's. I swam in my surf wetsuit, which is, 4'3", super restrictive. The preparation for that and looking back was like, it's ugly. Ugly. I don't remember. No, I do remember the swim. Barely made it out and back, and then getting on a bike. I thought, oh, great, let's go for a bike ride. And it was seeing people of all walks of life, right? Ages, genders moving past me. And that's where I realized, like, no, no, dude, you're not that dope. But stick with it, grit it out, and finish. It was not a stellar time. It was 3 hours and 49 minutes and 52 seconds, like bottom of the pack. But I made it. And that was that. 16 years later, and it
Mhm.
was a different experience, much different.
Right. Okay. So before we go into the experience itself,
Mm-hmm.
what was the motivating factor for not telling anybody that you were about to do it?
In true manifestor form, and what I've learned about myself in recent years, and in being able to kind of look back over 16 years and more, and in like manifestor form from human design, it's realizing, oh, I'm supposed to inform, and I
Mm,
kind of did a little bit, but this specifically was, I didn't want anyone else's input.
mhm,
That's not true. There were a few people whose input I wanted and valued, and those are, the people who have been there, done that. Like, experience is the true source of wisdom, so I will listen to that. But more so for me, and an examination of it was like my competitive energy, Shannon. So
mhm.
20-year-old me being full of fire and testosterone and competitive drive, 36-year-old me still has it. In doing something that is competitive, I didn't want anyone to know,
Yeah.
because I didn't know, right? So part of this is I have to go and see what I'm capable of
Mhm.
before I start speaking to what I'm going to do. This was really just, let's go see what this feels like.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. And there's something in there that also has to do with sometimes like our coaching experience too, right? Our behavior changes and our experience of self changes when we know that someone is watching. And even if there is no one watching that's physically there for the experience, if we know that someone else has a perceived or imposed expectation upon us, especially when you were 20 and you
Hmm.
decided to tell everybody, I'm doing this thing. And then you have to then tell them about what happened on the flip side and work through that within yourself. And then this, it really makes a lot of sense to me that you'd be like, you know what? We're going to do things a little differently this time. We're going to keep it, let it be mine, let it manifest inside of my body. And then I get to tell people afterwards. And hey, what a different experience is that? So super cool. So, was there a moment during this event where you thought, and maybe had that same thought of like, oh my God, what am I doing? And why did I sign up for this?
No, and that's the super fun part. Through this experience, I had a goal in mind, and then I had my mantras. So in minimal training and preparation, and we'll talk about that, of specific trainings for this, my mindset, my energy, my own competitive drive, and being able to speak to that
Mm,
in simple speak. You know this about me. I think we found it in one of the esoteric schools of thoughts. Like, I am here to take complex thoughts and distill it down to simplest terms in like
mm,
3-word phrases. So being able to repeat those mantras of, for the swim, it was just get out of the water, just get out of the water, or just keep swimming. And then on the bike, it was just don't stop, just don't stop. And then on the run was a little different. It was certainly a little challenging. One instance where it started to kind of up, and it's a shorter run, it's 3 miles. But
mhm,
in not having felt that or seen that, practice that, it was an out and back over in McNear's Peacock Gap. So you know that area. I
mhm,
couldn't quite see where the turnaround was,
mm,
and I kept looking for it. And then people were passing me. And I was speaking to myself of, just run your race, right? You're not a 175-pound cross country runner. Like, you're a big dude. Just keep going. But I
mhm,
could feel a little bit of that, like, we'll call it hopelessness, being like, oh, where is it? For me, being very visual, once I saw it, then I knew that it was like that resurgence of hope. I'm like, okay, now I get to go do what I want to do. Now I get to start moving a little faster. So
Mm.
nowhere near the level of defeat that I felt 16 years ago.
Yeah.
A whole lot more support,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And experience.
I had some good sage wisdom to draw on from that of like, you did this 16 years ago, right? Like let's make sure that we're being safe and
Yes.
smart. And then for me too, like a big thing is like respectful. There is a raw athleticism that I can draw on, and I think that 20-year-old showed up with a brazen attitude. That 20-year-old got humbled.
Yep.
36-year-old showing up with a different attitude, a different energy. For me, it was let's go have fun. That's
Mm.
part of why I didn't really want to tell anyone, is I didn't want other people's judgments or perceptions clouding it. Of like no, I'm just gonna go dance for 90 minutes. I'm like,
Yeah.
see what
I
I can do.
I love that. Funny enough, when I was 20, I did a half marathon in New Zealand and I trained for it for 2 weeks. And which, by the way, anybody, that's not a lot of time. And I wasn't a runner. So as you're sharing this story, Chandley, I can really, really relate because there's an idea where the idea kind of sounds like, oh yeah, I totally got this. And then you're in the thing and you're like, I don't got this. I really, really don't got this. So I love that you are circling back around to tackle this from a whole new perspective. And what a beautiful experience to give yourself, also in reflection to see how your intentionality creates the experience itself. I think that is such a cool thing. So let's continue here and kind of start to talk about like your training and your prep. So, how did this approach differ, or did you even have like a specific training program for this as you were deciding to do it?
It's a bit of a mixed bag. Certainly more intention and being able to tailor that to what fits my schedule. You
Mhm.
touched on this as a dad of two boys, and as a husband and having a job, and how can I make this work best for me? And that's the beauty of coaches who have experience, being able to draw on the champions in that world and tailor it to what my goal and intention was. And my goal was, let's go have fun. Underneath that, there's a few other layers of like, yeah, I'm going to test myself. And for the training component for this, Shannon, it was the teaching, the strength training, the metabolic conditioning, the HIIT workouts that I am fortunate to get to lead. It is so easy for me just to show up and have that in this Green Door Life community, in where we are here in Buda. It's a great area to kind of piece together these 2 mile, 3 mile runs, go out and get steps, get a walk in. For me, being on a bike has always been like fun and comfortable. And I can find a 5, 8, 10 mile loop that's low barrier to entry. So I can see how I'm feeling at 2 in the afternoon and I can flip that switch and go get a bike ride in. Swimming, knowing that swimming was going to be the biggest challenge,
Mhm.
because I have not been a swimmer. I have not been surfing in a long time. I have nothing to draw on that other than like, I like being in the water, getting in the pool at the YMCA and feeling what a structured swim workout feels like, having sets of distance and again, like getting my butt kicked in that capacity. Swimming was a little hard to come by in that capacity. I don't know what happened through the rest of February or March. The weather turned, and then we have Barton Springs here in Austin, and it's this beautiful long pool, which that plays to my strengths of being able to sight reference, going, okay, if I know I'm going to swim 500 meters, I can go there and I can practice a couple down and backs, right? And if the intention for this challenge is just get out of the water, it's I have to go get in the water, piece it together. I have to know what it feels like and have the right gear. So 20-year-old me or poorly prepared me would be like, yeah, I can do it in board shorts. Like, no, goggles and a swim cap and a Speedo make a difference. And you've heard
Yes.
that soundbite from me being like, Speedo season's coming. So thank you, Green Door Life, for getting me in a Speedo in the pool in Barton Springs. It was just that of, okay, I can go see what this feels like enough and train and practice so that I know what it it feels like to push it come day of the triathlon. So just get out of the water was my mantra, and having the right gear to be in the water and knowing that I'm going to have to push it a little bit. I don't know. It was an interesting one. Really, for me, the biggest training focus was bike and run. That was the easiest to access. I have a beautiful 2009 Specialized FSR mountain bike that's 30 pounds. So my thinking with that as my training bike is if I can get on anything lighter, great. I've got a better power to weight ratio in my advantage. And then running, I haven't been running much, been walking a lot. So building that in safely and avoiding injury. So, my intention for this was have fun and don't get hurt.
I can hear that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I want to kind of loop everything around so people who don't know anything about the Green Door can get a breadth of what's actually happening here. So Chandley is a nutrition coach, and he also teaches some of our progressive strength training as well as metabolic and HIIT training classes every week. So every week you are doing 2 to 3 sessions that are essentially full body, either strength or metabolic conditioning. So I really want to highlight that because we can't just like scoot that under the rug and pretend that that isn't a massive part of what allows you to have this endurance capacity, even if it's not for extended periods of time. What I've realized, because I have supported ultra marathon runners and Ironmen in their cross training. I remember I went to an Ironman competition for one of my clients like 15 years ago. We were doing the kinds of workouts that we do inside the Green Door 3 days a week together. And he finished 10th out of like 700 people. And even he had a group of like 100 that he was training with. He was the only one that was doing cross training in the way that we were. And he finished 10th total. And I was like, we can't scoop that under the rug. It's like the cross training with strength and endurance and full body is incredible. Plus the specificity of training that you're talking about. And it's so wild because most people won't think, oh, I'm going to train for this endurance race. I'm going to mix in cross training with it with strength. But every single athlete that we've worked with, even people who are doing mountain bike riding, we coached a woman this past year who was doing these crazy mountain bike ride races in Tahoe. And we gave her this cross training schedule and she freaking killed it. So, anyways, I just wanted to kind of scoop it back around and speak into what you're sharing. And also for people who are listening who have never even thought that we do cross training and we support people in endurance sport, that this is something that's really, really cool and so effective.
It's huge and supremely effective. And that's what I wanted to test in my own body. Benefit of a variety of strength training and all of these modalities and metabolic conditioning and HIIT built in. I have 3 days of workouts. And then I go for a bike ride. I like to be active, run around, playing with the boys. So a foundation of at least 3 days. I feel it in my body when I'm, 4 days, 5 days a week working out. Feels great, but it just comes with another set of variables that you kind of have to manage. So having that foundation is huge.
Yeah. Did anything surprise you in terms of how your body performed in either like the swim or the bike or the run based on having some of that background of the cross training?
Yes, there were a couple of surprises. The biggest surprise was how I felt after the race. So the last 100 meters, the course was kind of run down the hill and then run in the finish line. That's where I wanted to get. The biggest thing for me was make it to the end so that I can dump the tank. I like to go fast. I like to sprint. And I opened it up and I felt really good sprinting across the finish line. And then in finishing, I feel really good. I don't feel depleted. Took my socks off and I saw that I had some bloody toes and cuts on my foot. And I go, oh, that was a surprise. I had cut my foot in the water getting out at some point. But cold water, numbing it a little bit of adrenaline, didn't feel it. I think from the variety of training that we have, it's full body awareness and not a specific overtraining in any one position. Or what I really appreciate in the training that we have is every exercise is a core exercise and everything is from ribs to hips and below the glutes. So for all the dudes out there and all the dads, I'm like, this core core from butt to chest is solid. And then all the auxiliary work for other stuff, if you want arms or shoulders, that's fun to do too. But this foundation of athleticism feels really good. I think what surprised me the most during, and again, it's a short time. There's not a lot of time for surprises. I started to feel my calves cramping up a little bit on the bike, kind of the last little bit. And I don't know, Shannon, it was maybe a little change in just body positioning that I was able to alleviate cramping, which I would attribute to a sense of flexibility, body awareness, in being able to move across these different planes as we do in HIIT, in Metcon, in strength training. If I felt anything tightening up in a certain place, I felt like I was able to breathe through it and just adjust and relax. That was a key focus for me too, was all this energy, right? And the emotion that kind of comes with it, and where do you want to go to? And we get tense and it's like, no, breathe and relax and keep it flowing, which we kind of have to do in teaching strength. We're talking through it, we're leading, we're giving all these cues. So we're not letting that tension grip us too much. I think the biggest surprise was afterwards going, I feel really good. Like
that your body was able to recover more effectively.
If I didn't have cuts on my feet, I would have been more than happy to go for a run later. I don't know. Go do the dipsy steps. Like,
wow, that's awesome. So can you say off the top of your head how long this like partial triathlon was? Are you?
yes. Yep. The sprint tri was a 500 meter swim, 20K bike, and a 3-mile run.
Yeah. So it's a half. Yeah. Great. Okay. That's perfect. Just so like people who are even thinking about it or considering within themselves, they can kind of get an idea here. So let's move on to macronutrients. How did your understanding of nutrition shift or evolve? How did it support your training for this and your know-how of it?
It was huge, Shannon. Absolutely huge. So much fun to lean on the knowledge there, because it let me go do this one-off approach to training. I am very mindful and respectful. Like, this was a mixed bag of training that I could kind of piecemeal and fit into my days. Having ample protein to come in and support muscle mass, not overexerting and underfueling or having an imbalance of macronutrients that leads to a little bit of depletion. If we start losing muscle mass while we're training, then we're encountering injury. Really understanding carbs and glucose and glycogen was and is so fun. My pre-workout for swim was jelly beans.
Yeah.
And like 100-calorie little bag of jelly beans. Thanks, Mom. She went to the Jelly Belly factory. I had those. And it was that ability for me to throw in a little bit of fast-acting fuel to feel good for that, and then recover appropriately, making sure that I'm hydrated and then get a meal in. For training, it was leaning on carbohydrates, and then the comfort in knowing what it feels like to work through those glycogen stores. Right at the 30-minute mark, if I was on a bike ride here in Buda and burning around town, I could feel all fine and good up to about 30 minutes. And then from 30 to 45 minutes, I could tell if I was starting to run out of gas a little bit. And there's a feeling in the body, and then certainly like a cognitive feeling too, where you start feeling like, oh, I don't got it.
Yes. I'm going to speak into that and summarize for individuals who don't know what glycogen storage is. They're not really sure, like carbohydrates and hydration and all these things. So when we are doing some of this endurance training, we're going to be using predominantly carbohydrates and fats as our fuel source. And what Chandley is speaking into is that we'll have what we consider our glycogen or glucose storage tanks. We store it in our bloodstream, in our liver, in our muscle tissue. And it will deplete if we are doing a moderate pace activity, such as run, bike, swim at a certain VR or heart rate, where at about the 30-minute mark, we will have depleted the available glycogen stores. And in which case we actually need to replenish them. And I love that you had jelly beans because it's like fast acting. And, we have one of our clients who did, it was what are they called? 100-mile run. And that one, we had to work very intimately on how she fueled throughout her entire week, because she had to slowly build her capacity to store glycogen and also figure out her digestion around. Because when you are consistently fueling every 30 minutes with something like jelly beans for 100 miles, your body isn't going to like it.
Right.
So, what's cool is like for you, and when we understand the science of nutrition, we can know that like shot blocks or jelly beans or stroop waffles for what you just did, perfect.
I had a stroop waffle before my last swim at Barton Springs.
See? Yeah,
Yep.
they're so delicious.
And then the other thing too, with where I'm currently at in my body and an understanding, I am good with having some extra fat in my body. So through this process, it was knowing the benefits of fats in my body and being able to work through different energy stores in the body and load them up appropriately and feel good through prep and the travel that comes into this. Yeah, it was the nutrition understanding for me was a huge difference maker. Having the right support and the right guidance and the right equipment, and then a focus on like, be safe, 36-year-old, you're not 20 anymore, but the training and the nutrition making it feel, I mean, for a 36-year-old to say I felt better at 36 than I did at 20.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have the tools. I love that. So we can kind of couple it in the proper guidance and equipment, the proper training, and the proper fuel. So, did you have any specific recovery tools or strategies that you found helpful as well? Like,
Ooh.
of course, we have food, but anything else or inside of food too?
Let me think on that for a second. Foam rolling for sure.
Yeah. Yes. Me too.
Gots to foam roll. ET band voodoo flossing.
Uh
Have you ever
huh.
done voodoo floss?
Yes.
Oof, love that. So you can speak to that a little more scientifically. It's blood restrictive
Hmm.
myofascial work. Basically
Yeah.
being able to wrap, any part of the body, not any part of the body, so don't wrap the neck, but joints, muscles, anything where it starts to lock up, which comes from training, being able to
Mhm.
wrap that and then some myofascial release. Is that what I
Yeah.
want to say?
Yeah.
Yep, thank you. Digging in there with a peanut, a good lacrosse ball, that worked for me. Let's see. I would say those are like the specific body
Hmm.
focuses: nutrition, hydration, water, water, water,
Hmm.
water, rest, and being able to look at rest differently. Like rest is different for me than it is for other people. So
Hmm.
being able to heed the advice and wisdom, like, you need to rest. Sometimes it looks like meditate. Sometimes it looks like running 12 errands, but that's what it is for me. So staying balanced, staying optimistic, knowing that this is stirring up some competitive energy and some stuff that's in there, a good, healthy routine, and
All,
patience. Patience.
I love it. All of the you want to say basics, but they are not necessarily basics for everyone.
Fundamentals. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Okay, let's move a little bit further into mindset for this. So, as a father of two and a coach, how did you find the space mentally and physically to pursue this?
As a father, it's
Yeah.
knowing that my boys are growing and they're only getting stronger and they're going to come for the crown. My 8-year-old already loves to wrestle and play fight, and I'm terrified of him. I call him a ball of butcher knives. Like, I do not want any of that from him because he is just, I don't know, a little Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
My almost 13-year-old, in seeing both of them grow in their own athleticism,
Mm,
it's inspiring.
mm,
I am so proud of them to find it in themselves. We do a couple organized sports between YMCA basketball or flag football. I'm very enthusiastic. I have a background in coaching athletics, and I'm just there to support them.
mm,
Just hold
mhm.
them up and let them feel it in their own body.
It said, let them feel it in their own body. I just want to highlight that because I think that's for something you and Lisa do really, really well. Yeah.
And I went for a run with our oldest son recently. And that's how I started to fold it in. I go, I'm feeling angsty on this Saturday, Sunday, whatever it was. I need to go move and I need to get them up and out too. Like, we got to do something. So seeing my almost 13-year-old go run a mile for the first time, I've never seen him do that. And I thought, come on, let's try it out. Having him set the pace. And I was watching him going, he's just started to kind of grow into his body and he's going to be huge. So again, knowing it's your turn to start incorporating these habits, these things where if you're bored, go for a run, challenge yourself, test yourself to a healthy degree and build yourself up. And then also knowing, oh my God, they're going to get stronger and they're going to be able to kick my butt someday. May that day be a long, long time from now. Your other question was as a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a realization, Shannon, in the last year specifically of seeing and being able to work with a lot of great guys. They're all great. I'm
Mhm.
a big cheerleader of all of them, but seeing this life cycle stage of mid 30s to mid 40s
Mhm.
of men and dads who don't necessarily have like a specific weight loss goal.
Mhm.
Some of them do, some of them don't.
Mhm.
But they want to be able to stay in the game. They want to, in one client that I just finished with recently, who has a 12-year-old son, he's going, yeah, my boy is going to come for me and I can't let him beat me in anything. So realizing that with those fundamentals and with a beautifully balanced foundation,
Mhm.
we at 36 and 46 can still go do these challenges. For me, it was this sprint try. For someone else, whatever it may be, if it's bike riding, if it's adult basketball, like, I don't know, plug it in however it works for you. But the fear, the worry, the concern, the block at this time in our lives is either I don't have time or I got injured,
Mm.
and that derails you completely, sets you back. So as a coach, I was motivated by a lot of the guys I was working with being like, hey, I think I've found something recently. I'm seeing it in the work and that you're doing and the data that's showing up. And I'm going, I, I think I can test this hypothesis. I think there's something here. Yeah.
Awesome. That's very cool. I also want to speak into what you're talking about with like injury, because injury is something that is so big and we see it a lot with men and women, but I think a little bit more with men as they come into like a new training program, especially if you have trained in college or high school and you're now in your late 30s, early 40s, your training time in that phase of your life, you may have just been able to like, throw weight around without really any repercussion. And now, if you try that, all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I tweaked my back, and now I have to go take care of my children. And that those two don't work well together. And so now I really love this because the way that we design and instruct our strength and conditioning is so specific about that core that you were just speaking into. And when we have that strong core and when we have the appropriate stacking of our joints and appropriate muscle contraction, it's really simple to avoid those poor movement patterns that lead to injury. And so I love that you are just speaking into that because I do feel like there's this window of guys that are between like, mid 30s to mid 40s and they're kind of in this sweet transition spot. We all are at that age. And in that time period it's like, okay, wait, we can restructure a little bit, right?
It's so true. It is. Oh my gosh, you're on it. Yeah, I used to play high school sports
Uh-huh.
20 years ago. That's
Mhm.
not me anymore. Speaking to this, so the variety of strength training that we do, and one thing that I am vocal about with the male clients I work with is not going to be impressed by the amount of weight that you can lift. Like, in fact, don't. I don't want you to. Let's find another challenge. In the strength classes that I teach, or in what did we do today? Strength. I don't lift heavy.
Mhm.
Right. What day is it? Uh,
Wednesday.
Metcon. I did Metcon yesterday with 15s.
Yeah.
I have found times to push it a little bit and the jump from, 15 to 20, 25 to 30. I feel it.
Mhm.
Having had enough experience, I know, okay, it's taxing on your central nervous system. It's going to create a little more inflammation in the body that's going to lead to impingement. 18, 19-year-olds can throw weight around and not experience the same repercussions. 36, it's not cool getting hurt at 36 or 46. Like,
No.
not only is it not cool, but it takes you away from the areas of your life where you're needed, in supporting your family or being at work or just being a happy person, right?
Yes.
So
100%. Yeah. And I think there's a mindset shift that's available there where, as you're speaking into it, it's not about pushing harder with weight. It's a different kind of challenge. Instead of the weight challenge, it's how long can you hold this position for? Or how long can you engage this one muscle that's allowing you to be in a plank position with proper form? Like, what does that look like? It's a shift. It's a shift for all of us. My face was like, I can hear some of my male environment going, no, no, we're going to do some bench. Like, great. And you know what? I've seen so many guys have to have shoulder surgery to shave off the calcium deposits in their shoulder from benching over and over and over and over again without learning how to contract their lats. So it's
Yeah,
just like, it's like it's fun in theory and you might feel like you look cool and it might give you like a sense of like accomplishment, but long term, it's going to really bite you in the ass and then you're going to have to deal with it later.
totally.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we could talk about that for a while, but I'm going to move into some of our last questions here. What are your takeaways or mindset shifts from what you did when you were 20 to now that you would love to share with listeners and have them take away? Or like, what were your biggest takeaways?
My biggest takeaway, taking raw emotion and energy and frustration or anger or whatever it may be, the gym is a great place to go work that out. Get on a bike, go for a run, and I speak to this and work with clients, don't beat yourself up. So go to those places where it's helpful to move that energy and remember where they are. At 18, 19, 20, I don't think I knew, certainly didn't have quite the emotional depth or understanding that I do now, to being able to take stock of this is how I'm feeling today, and going for a walk is going to put me in a new state of mind or in a new environment. So just get up and get moving. I'm a big old weirdo. I know I am, Shannon, but like dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And Lisa teases me, and I am Brad Pitt on the on the treadmill and burn after reading, just like dancing and singing. And I'm a little bashful about that unless I'm in company that knows me. But like, no, that's me. I'm a very happy I like to be a very happy person. Music moves me. So not being afraid to be seen a little bit. Moving away from white knuckled, I'm
Mm.
going to grit through this, to breathe, relax, flow, move, dance. Hey, have fun. There was a great sign at the triathlon, people at the top and people cheering you on. And you can draw on that energy, but the sign was, remember, you paid for this. I'm like, yeah, that's right.
I love that. It's a good reminder. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate that you're circling back to for yourself having fun, releasing the grip a little bit, just enjoying, as cheesy or as a one liner it might sound, enjoying the process and remembering you paid for this.
100%. And there are worlds to draw on. There's the military inspiration world, which I do like. And like from the Navy SEALs, it's embrace the suck. And I had this with a little firefighting background of like, some of this work is crazy. So let's make it the good kind of crazy. Let's laugh through this if we can. And
Yeah.
um, I know it's popular out there, like type 2 fun. It might not be fun right now, but you're going to feel a lot better about this later.
Yes. And I think that's such a wonderful opportunity for us to experience ourselves in a different way. So if we know ourselves that when something like chaotic or challenging or hard is coming at us and our previous default has been, oh, I'm just going to like grit through it and I'm going to complain over here. I'm going to tell these people how much it sucks. And instead going, I'm going to dominate this right now. I'm going to, I'm going to F and like, let's go. What you got?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I'll give you my soundbite because we're here now, but like what motivates me and my kind of crazy, annoyingly optimistic is what I tell people from coaching. Like, this is what you're going to get from me. Out there running and biking, be like, oh, this is my kind of party. Like, let's go. Yeah. Oh, we partying out here.
At the end of the day, it's like, it's just all an opportunity to experience ourselves and how we show up and how we want to show up. It's so cool. Okay. So I'm trying this out with you for the first time. This is a rapid fire round. So for those of you listening, I'm going to basically just throw questions at Chandley and he's going to give me his first thought.
Perfect.
Okay, here we go. Favorite movement modality right now?
Bulgarian split squats.
Okay,
Right?
good for you. Said nobody ever, by the way.
Uh-huh.
One food you'll never track.
Pizza.
What? Okay.
Because I eat a lot of it. How do I track all of that pizza? Anyways.
It's called a whole pie.
Whole pie. Yeah. I eat it symmetrically.
Whole pie. Um, recovery ritual you swear by.
Baths.
I could have answered that for you.
Uh-huh.
Um, dream event you'd like to train for next.
The NFL Combine. I'm still waiting for my phone call. I want them. Yep. The Detroit
Okay.
Lions. Call me up. I'm good for like 2 plays.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Advice you'd give your younger self as a new dad and coach.
You're supposed to do it your way.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah. That's a mic drop. Mic drop. That's a perfect little circle around for this conversation. Awesome. You're supposed to do it your way. Isn't that the truth for everybody?
Amen.
Amen. Awesome. Okay, Chan. Well, thank you so much. This was super fun. And I think this rapid fire ending is going to stay.
It's my favorite. Yeah, I could play that game all day.
Right? Totally. Okay, you guys. So thank you so much for watching and or listening. If you are someone who feels connected to this conversation, either because you didn't even realize that something like doing a half triathlon or having some sort of goal like this was even something that was possible for you, or it wasn't even in your awareness, or you are someone who is currently training for some sort of event and you would like support for either equipment, modality of training, and or nourishment, hit us up and you can work with Coach Chan or one of our other coaches if that's appropriate. So if you don't know already, you can visit us at thegreendoorlife.com. And thank you so much, Chan. This was amazing.
Thank you, Shannon.
You got it. And thank you everyone for listening. Take care and we will see you next time.